Hi, my name's Edwena Dixon and I'm a mortgage broker, and here's my take on inflation of housing here in Australia. Skyrocketing inflation makes owning your home harder. And my friend Sally, she discovered this when all of a sudden property prices increased by 24.5% in 1 year. That's one 12-month period. She had her heart set on a 4-bedroom home and she was looking for a property that was going to cost her around $750,000. And she then decided, instead of buying a property and using LMI, I'm actually going to save for another 12 months and buy something later. Well, big mistake. Just 12 months later, that exact same property wasn't $750,000 anymore. It had skyrocketed and it jumped up to $900,000. Now, this was a really harsh lesson in what happens to property when inflation kicks in. So what is inflation? Inflation is a persistent, substantial rise in the general level of prices relating to an increase in the volume of money, resulting in a loss of the value of a currency. There's basically an imbalance between supply and demand of money. It means that what you used to be able to buy with your money, you no longer can buy. A rising costs of goods and services because of inflation means that you're also devaluing and decreasing what your borrowing power is. It's a crucial component to being able to buy a property here in Australia. There is a certain level of inflation that is relatively normal. This is where hyperinflation or a surge in inflation is actually really harmful to all of us because it means that everyday purchases are now really expensive. My son's $20 haircut is not $20 anymore. In fact, on Sunday, I paid $42 for it. Now, that's a pure example in the way inflation actually works. Why do home loan interest rates rise when inflation is high? The Reserve Bank of Australia is actually responsible for inflation, and there's a sweet spot where normal amount of inflation is acceptable, and that's between 2 and 3%. When inflation goes beyond this 2-3%, and often it's due to monetary policies that the Reserve Bank or the RBA has brought in that haven't quite worked out how they expected, then they need to find a way to stop people from actually spending so much money each month. If you've got a mortgage, then it means that when the RBA increases their interest rates, called the cash rate, then your mortgage and your loan repayment is also going to increase, which stops you from spending as much as you would if you had lower repayments. Think of it like a pay cut, but it's to do with your mortgage. How does inflation impact housing? High inflation, like my friend Sally discovered, means that when this happens, your borrowing capacity diminishes, often pretty heavily. Where you perhaps could borrow $600,000, you may only be able to borrow $450,000 from the bank. The way the banks and the lenders look at how much they will lend to you, they're taking into account that the RBA is increasing the cash rate, and so therefore making it a whole lot more expensive for people to actually be able to buy property. The other thing that's happened over multiple inflation cycles is that even where the RBA tries to restrict control of money and to be able to stop people from actually being able to borrow as much, the results don't always work out like that. The price of property increases. So how do you get into the property market when there is inflation and there's an impact of inflation on housing? After spending over 10 years as a mortgage broker here in Australia, the biggest thing that I would say is set aside this idea that you need a 20% deposit. LMI isn't a dirty word. It isn't something that you should be afraid of. Yes, it's an insurance and it doesn't protect you, it protects the bank, but it means that you're actually able to get into the property market at a point where you can afford to make that first step. So even if you only have a 10% deposit, please don't be like my friend Sally. Look at getting involved, starting the steps and going through the process to be able to purchase your property. I don't want you to be left behind like Sally, and the reality is I'm not sure when she's going to be able to get into the market. Don't let inflation be the reason that you're going to miss out. We've got more videos here to be able to help explain buying a house in Australia. Watch, enjoy, learn, and if you need help, reach out. Thanks for watching my channel. Like and subscribe if you want to see more. I'll see you in the next video.